So what's your end goal?
I think for me, I think she, with all due respect, I think Mindy's just trying to cash checks. That's all it is.
Well, yeah, most of these people,
because she doesn't. If she cared, she wouldn't take something amazing like Scooby-Doo. There are a lot of fans out there. You can make your own stuff if you're that talented. And you're that
make an original IP.
Okay,
I mean, she's had her own show once,
maybe
so maybe she needs. Maybe it's not her niche.
But that's the thing. Okay, if your shows are trash,
maybe her making her own projects is not her niche, and maybe she might want to take this as it.
There are Indian nerds.
Is Mindy Kaling setting the South Asian community backwards? Everyone's been talking about Mindy Kaling's latest project, Velma, but the remade character Velma has gotten a lot of heat because it leans into a bunch of harmful stereotypes about Indian women. These types of tropes are no surprise because they are pretty much exactly what Mindy has done in the past. I'm Tej, and I happen to be a South Asian and a filmmaker. Mindy is someone I actually look up to. She's the biggest South Asian creator when it comes to these big budget productions in mainstream Hollywood. I also think Mindy's story is commendable. She worked for this. She started as a production assistant and she eventually made her way to her big break, starting on The Office as the only woman on a staff of 14 at the time. And I think given the power and the seat Mindy has in Hollywood, South Asians look at Mindy like this beacon of hope. But maybe we're putting our expectations in the wrong place. So if you're someone that feels when you watch something about our people and you feel like it's wrong and it's not your reality, maybe that's your sign to start telling your own stories.
I was gonna be like, you can, and if that's the case and shows are trash, go and you take your platform and where you are in Hollywood and you're in a place where you can help the other young writers who are maybe Indian or other minorities. If you love helping them so much, bring them up. Tell them, can you write this? Can you direct this? Because I have no ideas.
I think it's even deeper than that, though. I think it's deeper than her hiring brown writers or or her own ethnic group involved into the programming. These people are sort of beholden to whoever is paying them.
Oh, yeah.
If HBO is paying them and saying, no, we don't want this sort of like cultural messaging you want to put in. We want the messaging we want put in because this is going out to the masses and we want to lead the world in a certain direction. That's essentially, that's the thing that I think a lot of artists don't understand when they get into the industry. Artists think it's about the art. And, we think a lot of times it's about talent, and it actually isn't.
I remember I had to argue with my daughter when I first came out of politics. Harry Styles was wearing a dress. Oh, yeah. And my daughter is a huge fan. And we got into an argument. She started crying. And I was just trying to figure out what, because at the time my daughter was like 13. I'm like, why are you crying? I'm just spitting facts here. These are not opinions. And she started telling me about, guys getting pregnant. And I was like, she just didn't know, because I had never sat down with her, and she was on social media. So
what did you say? Like,
I said something about the dress and being a guy wearing a dress.
Yeah.
I was like, well, that's, anybody could wear a dress. I was like, but I told her the reason why he's wearing the dress. She said, but he's cute. I think it looks great on him. I said, no, it's not. It doesn't look great on him. You're 13.
You're highly impressionable.
Yeah. So it's like, like people with Kanye when he came on here. People stood up for Kanye, what he did when he came here, when he was totally in the wrong. It's because they love his music. They're biased. They're not thinking. Yeah. She was a huge Harry Styles fan, and she wasn't listening, and whatever I said, it hurt her feelings. And now she's 20 and she's
and we was the same way growing up, looking at Madonna, listening to her music. I never understood what parents is like, don't watch her, she's Satan,
Warning, this video contains graphic content. Viewer discretion advised.
I have no idea why it has taken this long for Madonna and all of her charities to be investigated for this. This isn't even the first time Madonna has been accused, or there has been calls for her to be investigated for child trafficking. The second child she adopted wasn't even an orphan.
Madonna herself did not meet the adoption requirements that you need to adopt a child out of Malawi. Madonna bullied Malawian officials and demanded VIP treatment to get her kids.
Madonna is under investigation for good reason. She's being accused of human trafficking her own children. These kids were adopted from Africa in a malicious way. Madonna used her wealth to convince these families to give up their children. She promised she would return them, but she never did.
As I got older, it makes more sense now. These people are put in positions of power with this highly impressionable kids, and they're there to manipulate them and have them think and act. And I think nowadays vote a certain way. I
thought that it was just so improbable that people were trying to sexualize society on purpose. That was real. Then I started hearing about that. I just learned about this Kinsey guy. I learned about it a little while ago. This sex doctor from the 1930s, 40s, 50s, whatever it was.
I met up with Dr. Judith Reisman, a world historian in the destruction of human sexuality. Dr. Reisman is recognized as an expert witness exposing the sex industry's hidden agenda.
Playboy sued you, or you sued Playboy?
No, Playboy sued me for libel and slander.
And what happened?
I won.
She's fought the pornography industry for decades and even won a lawsuit against Playboy.
So how did we get here to where we're at today? Because I don't think pornography has always been such an epidemic cancer within our society like it is today.
Now from the top, make it drop, that's some wet, that's some wet. Now get a bucket and a mop, that's some wet, that's some wet. I get dropped, that's some wet, that's some wet. Now get a bucket and a mop, that's some wet, that's some wet. I'm talking wop, 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 that's some wet, that's some wet. Now from the top, make it drop, that's some wet, that's some wet. Now get a bucket and a mop, that's some wet, that's some wet. I'm not from the top.
No, not at all. We were, up to the end of the Second World War, a conservative Judeo-Christian nation. The turning point for all that was Dr. Alfred Kinsey, his book, Sexual Behavior in the Human Male, 1948. He was the father of the sexual revolution, and therefore the father of everything that has come from that. And certainly one of the key things was pornography.
Dr. Alfred Kinsey ushered the destruction of our nation's moral code with his books, Sexual Behavior in the Human Male and Sexual Behavior in the Human Female. Known as the Kinsey Reports. The world recognized him as the leading scientific expert on human sexuality. The reports claim that humans were sexual from birth, and that what we deemed as immoral sexual behavior was actually normal, thus making it moral. Once a biologist who studied gall wasp, Kinsey's obsession with sexuality led him to found the Kinsey Institute for Sex Research at Indiana State University. What people to this day are not aware of were the methods he used to collect his data.
And I looked at the graphs that he provided, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34 tables. And I said, wait a minute, that's a 2-month-old baby. How does he know a 2-month-old baby did or did not have an orgasm? And then table 34, a 4-year-old child, 26 orgasms in 24 hours. That's an around-the-clock experiment.
Wow, that's torture.
That's torture, you bet. He also actually employed bona fide pedophiles to do what they did to children for his so-called data.
Kinsey wanted to prove that we are sexual from birth, so it wasn't surprising that he drew his data from pedophiles, rapists, and murderers. They were the perfect sample because obviously a rapist pedophile will have a skewed perspective on sexuality. The research in Kinsey's books were partly based on the collection of data and confessions of a Nazi pedophile during World War II, Dr. Fritz von Balusek, who raped hundreds of children. After the war, the Nazi officer was charged and put on trial for the murder of a 10-year-old girl. They found detailed records of von Balusek's heinous sexual acts with children, revealing his correspondence with Kinsey. Dr. Kinsey, who was fully aware of the Nazi officer's atrocities, warned him in his letters to be careful and encouraged him to continue his research. During the trial, the judge said, I got the impression that you got to the children in order to impress Kinsey and to deliver him material. To his surprise, Balusek replied, Kinsey himself asked me for that.
Now that became the foundation for the sex educational structure that fed itself into what we are teaching our children right now as we sit here and speak.
I venture to suggest that what we are putting into our books on sex education today is based almost fully upon philosophic guess.
And of course, it was the foundation of all the changes in our laws, the sodomy laws, the abortion laws, everything else. I mean, he's there. His handprints are on everything that deals with sexuality. America was educated by a pedophile whose work was labeled as science. Just as Darwin was the father of legitimizing evolution, Kinsey was the father of legitimizing the sexual revolution and all that's based upon that today.
Sure enough, Hefner was true to his word. Not only did he popularize pornography on a global scale, he also helped to legalize it.
I want a congressional investigation of Kinsey. At some point, we may, in fact, be able to get a public to be aware that they've been raped. The whole nation has been raped. That is what's happened to us. We have been raped, and you cannot expect to survive a rape without a great deal of illness, pain, and trauma. And we've gone through it. Now we've got to find a way to get out of it.
So, whatever happened to Kinsey? Well, this glorified psychopath eventually died of a slow and painful disease called orochitis, a lethal infection of the testicles due to years of brutal masochistic masturbation and other vile sexual acts. How ironic. The preacher of sexual liberation died from following his own message. Sadly, his destructive work continues to live on with his lies, and to this day, we continue to fund the Kinsey Institute with our tax dollars. Now, for any man who's trapped in pornography, he must first realize that the root of the problem is based on a lie by Kinsey and a lie from the enemy of his soul. You need to realize you've been duped. You've been suckered because ultimately, Kinsey's purpose was to remake man into his image, which really wasn't a pretty one.
And Hugh Hefner was his student.
Yeah.
And they were overtly attempting to sexualize college kids. Like, they would go to college campuses and be like, we are going to sexualize society. So I guess we're still seeing this.
Yeah, the grooming stuff's real, man.
Yeah.
Totally
real.
So about the celebrity stuff, I remember I was working for one nonprofit, and they were like, I'm a big fan of Death Cab for Cutie. And they said, who wants to go see a Death Cab concert? And I was like, are you kidding? And like, it was really popular with college kids at the time. And so they said, anybody who volunteers to do voter registration at the event gets an all access pass. And I was like, I'm done. You tell me where and when. They give me an all access pass. They give me a stack of voter registration forms and said, go out and just ask people. And I got to hang out backstage and meet the band. So right there, they're very, very clever in how they do this stuff. Now, I'm not saying anything about the band. The band wasn't doing anything.
Right.
But this organization knew to go after young people in these spaces to exploit the celebrity because they knew I would do it for them. And I was like, I don't know, I was like 20 years old.
Yeah. Well, like that's why Biden talked to Cardi B. That's why they talked to The Rock. I mean,
Johnson,
it's just
influence.
Because 40% of this country is not in the politics, but they'll go do what Cardi B says or The Rock says. That's why they do it.
The Rock looks broke. He looks like he'll back any candidate for any amount of money. He has no
He did
shame.
a tweet.
No shame at all.
He did a tweet, and I think it was exact on the date, 365 day where he was endorsing them. And I responded to him. I said, today, I want you to remember the day you recommended the worst president and worst vice president in our history. I think it was on Instagram. Yeah. 'Cause that dude, you can't tell me he wasn't paid money to do that.
Yeah. He supported Gavin Newsom when Gavin Newsom had this whole scandal with the restaurant. He supported any politician that will just probably give him a little bit of money because
that's just sleazy,
as we
right?
know, that's what a lot of these celebrities do. They're like, oh, you want me to support you? How much are you willing to give me?
Yeah,
that's how it works. Exactly.
That is absolute sellout.
Selling out this country, most importantly. Just like John Cena with his Mandarin
apologizing.
Yeah.
你好，中国，就是叫西呢。我做很多采访，很多。 所以在一个采访我有一个错误。
Got him! You have to essentially, this is the term people use when they say sell your soul. You essentially have to be a vessel for whatever marketing and programming is going out into the world. Whatever narrative is going out, you need to follow that narrative. And if you don't follow that narrative, your creative opportunities may be somewhat stunted or limited, to the point where you have to do your own thing. So you got to operate outside of that echo chamber.
But that's what I was saying. Like, if she was willing to obviously tell the people at HBO, like, I'm gonna do it this way. If not, fuck it, I'll find a different way to do it. Because she was already well known.
Which
that's
is great.
Thing, you know?
That's like Ice Cube. You know, he turned down a movie role back a year ago because he wouldn't get the jab. He turned down $11 million because he was just like, no, I'm not getting the jab. Sorry. He's like, I don't need the movie role that much. But not many people are willing to stand on principle and their own integrity.
And also, again, not many people have that kind of privilege in the sense of Ice Cube's rich as hell. He probably doesn't need to ever do movies ever.
Yeah.
Back to Mindy, in her,
even at that,
she's on a level where she doesn't need to be shooting shit for HBO.
Yeah, she's made a name for herself. She's already made a name for herself.
So she could have written something away from HBO and just brought it out. And if it did well, it did well. But at the end of the day, like I said, I just think,
you know why I think she might have followed through with the whole thing with Velma?
It's because it's crazy.
Well, ladies in general, we've talked about this a few times on our show. Ladies care for social matters a lot. Ladies care for social inclusion. You look at their profiles and say she, her up there, even though we can tell it's a female, they'll just put these little pronouns in there, which the pronouns aren't even relevant to them if they're not sure about their own identity. You know, it's just something to feel included. It's the newest thing, the newest cause, whether that's a Ukrainian flag in their bio or BLM in their bio. It's always the next new current thing.
So you feel like she wanted to be a part of a new thing.
It's easy. Well, in general, it's easy to get women on board with social causes. Hey guys, if you want to watch more clips, click here.
And if you want to watch the full podcast, click right here.